So Big Swole. Mainstream media saying protein powder can kill you?
Can you believe that shit?
It's the GAINZ Trust, baby. What's the deal, Big Swole?
All right, so on the weekend here in Australia, so about 5 days ago, man, Channel 10 reported a story that a young girl named Meegan Hefford, she's 25, died of a rare genetic disorder called Urea cycle defect or Urea cycle disorder.
Correct.
And they've portrayed it, man, as protein shakes are the things that have killed her.
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, condolences to Meegan Hefford and her family. She's leaving behind, she was very young, 25 years old.
25, man, very young.
Leaving behind 2 young children, 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. It's a horribly tragic situation. So condolences to her family. Horrible situation to deal with.
Absolutely.
We're not here to discuss that exactly. What we are here to discuss is how disgustingly this story has been portrayed by mainstream media and in particular Channel 10 here in Australia. So let's get straight into it. Let's kick to the story so you guys can see what we're talking about.
A warning tonight for anyone who drinks protein shakes. A young mother in Mandurah near Perth has died after flooding her body with the supplements. And her distraught parents now want everyone to know how dangerous they can be. Silvana Sikorsky has more.
Meegan Hefford was fit, healthy and had a passion for bodybuilding. But the 25-year-old's devotion to her training regime cost her her life. In preparation for a competition next month, Meegan followed a strict high-protein diet of egg whites, meat and supplements.
The message with protein supplements is they're just not necessary for almost anybody. The whole protein supplement industry is about making money for the people that manufacture the products, and they don't provide any health benefit at all.
What made Meegan's case more complicated is the young mother was unaware she suffered from a rare genetic disorder, which prevents the body from properly digesting proteins. Doctors say the defect is identified at birth but can go unnoticed. After complaining of feeling tired, Meegan was reportedly found unconscious at her home by a real estate agent. Professional bodybuilders say there needs to be more education around proper eating before competitions. They say the industry has evolved and high-protein diets are a thing of the past.
Where they're having protein 5-6 times a day, and probably animal-based protein, which is definitely quite acid forming in the body and would build up ammonia, which is what the issue that she had. So that in cooperation with supplementation is just a recipe for disaster.
It's understood Meegan's mother is pushing for tougher restrictions on the sale of supplements. Silvana Sikorsky, 10 Eyewitness News.
So there you go, guys. That's the story. That's the story that broke Channel 10, and then that story was repeated by a bunch of other news sources. There was some written for newspapers. There was some written content, some other film, video-based content. But that's the story that I think has been floating around social media that everyone's been tagged, and I've been tagging it, man, a bunch of times. Which really is why we're shooting this episode. So a couple of things that we want to discuss in this GAINZ Trust episode, just to kind of set the facts straight for everybody, because that piece of journalism was just disgusting.
It was terrible, man.
And we'll get into why. But there's a few facts that we need to set straight, because a lot of people see this sensationalized piece of journalism and go, oh shit.
Yeah, I'm not taking my protein shake anymore.
A lot of people take protein powder, right? They're like, if that happened to this poor girl, well, it could happen to me. So we need to set the facts straight first and foremost. So we're going to discuss what exactly is urea cycle defect, because they even that up in this story. Just the basic facts of what it is. We're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss what are the signs of urea cycle disorder. So how do you know, what are the symptoms?
What are the symptoms?
What would cause you to perhaps believe that you may have the same disorder that poor Meegan had? How you treat it. So if you do have it, is it treatable? How do you kind of, avoid any risks with having it? Then we're going to discuss what what is protein powder, what are the benefits of protein powder, and kind of defy what was the guy's name? The Australian Medical Association president, Dr. Omar Khorshid, in that delightful piece of journalism we just saw, and then how protein powder is regulated in Australia, because what the media is saying is that they're calling for stricter regulation of the sale of protein powder to prevent something like this happening in the future. And then finally, we're going to go to town on.
If we haven't done enough already, mate, we are going to let them have it.
All right. So starting from the top, Big Swole, urea cycle defect. What is it?
So it's a rare genetic disorder that'll affect about 1 in 8,000 people.
Yes.
So very, very rare.
I saw 1 in 30,000.
Yeah, and there was another one that I read from the US. It was 1 in 10,000.
Yeah. Let's just say
even at 1 in 8,000, it's still extremely, extremely rare.
Correct.
And what it is, I'll just read this one off. So, it's a deficiency in one of the 6 liver enzymes that prevent nitrogen from being broken down into urea. So before, that news article you guys just saw, they said it's the breakdown or metabolism of protein. It's not.
No.
It's your body's ability to break down nitrogen and excrete it from the body.
And so what happens, guys, just to really, just bring it back a little bit and break it down into layman's terms, is you consume protein, whether it's from a whole food source or a supplementary source, wherever you're getting your protein from. Your body digests the protein, breaks it down into amino acids, and then sends those amino acids into your bloodstream, and your body does what it needs to do with the amino acids from the protein you consume.
Yeah.
What happens then with any leftover or any excess amino acids? There's a couple of things that can happen, but what urea cycle defect specifically refers to is when your body takes those excess amino acids and converts them into nitrogen in the form of ammonia in your bloodstream. And then what happens with most people is that there's 6 enzymes that are produced by your liver that are responsible for breaking down those excess amino acids, that nitrogen or in the form of ammonia, breaking it down into something called urea. And then that urea is excreted in your urine as waste product. That's how the urea cycle deals with excess amino acids that your body doesn't have any use for.
Now,
most people.
Yeah, and if we just kick back to ammonia being very, very toxic for the body.
It's toxic in high doses.
Yes.
So if the enzymes produced by your liver, the 6 enzymes that are responsible for breaking down nitrogen or ammonia into urea, aren't functioning correctly, any one of those enzymes isn't functioning correctly, that's where you can lead to a buildup in ammonia in your bloodstream. And ammonia at very high levels is very toxic. And can cause death, as we've seen in this in this circumstance. So that's a real breakdown, basic of what the urea cycle does, what it's responsible for, and the defect or the disorder is any one of those 6 enzymes either not working at all or not working as well as it should.
And that's one very important point. You have to think, because most, urea cycle defects will be picked up within the first, week or so of someone being born. Sometimes within the first 24 to 36 hours, they will notice something with the baby that isn't correct, and then they'll address it from there.
Exactly.
But if one of those enzymes that we were talking about is working at, say, 50 or 75%, you still have the urea cycle defect or disorder, but it means that it won't be diagnosed straight away. You can live as a normal person, you can eat protein, your body will work, and it'll gradually, you'll find out about it eventually.
And urea cycle defect or urea cycle disorder varies in severity from not very severe, so you might have one enzyme that operates at, say, 90% of what normal people's enzymes would operate, right down to incredibly severe, where you have one enzyme that doesn't work at all and causes a very rapid buildup in ammonia in your bloodstream very quickly.
Absolutely.
And that would be incredibly severe. So that's what the urea cycle is, and what urea cycle defect is as well. What are the signs, Big Swole? So how do you know if you've got this without getting a blood test done? Because the easiest way to test for it is to get bloods done and get a serum ammonia level. You read the amount of ammonia in your bloodstream, and if it's above the maximum range that it should be, well, then you've got urea cycle disorder. But without doing that, let's say that you don't want to get your bloods done, or you're afraid of needles or whatever it may be, what are the symptoms of urea cycle
So
disorder?
so a person who does have an undiagnosed, I guess, bout of urea cycle defect, once they consume protein, they will get feelings of nausea, vomiting, lethargy, delirium, disorientation, confusion, slurred speech, unusual and extreme combativeness, so they'll get very, very aggressive, agitation, stroke-like symptoms.
Pretty much the types of symptoms that you get if you've been poisoned.
Yeah, pretty much. Even some people have been sent to like psychologists and psychiatrists for like bipolar disorder.
Okay.
Because they're the same sort of side effects. Yeah. You know, the aggressiveness and that sort of thing. So. But
the thing is they're always linked to an incremental increase in protein intake.
Absolutely.
Right?
So it's not all the time. It'll be after you consume protein. These are the effects you're going to get.
Or you go from consuming, let's say 50 grams of protein a day to, say, training for a bodybuilding competition and consuming 200, and you notice these symptoms straight away.
And the report did say that she was feeling very tired, and so the symptoms were obviously there. Yeah.
So if you experience those symptoms, not saying definite, but could have urea cycle defect. In which case, go and get your bloods done and get it tested.
Absolutely.
Straight up.
Simple test.
Very easy test.
But because, it's unless it's diagnosed as a child, it's mainly looked over in most adults. So, it's sort of gone, it's passed over until you get to the point that poor Meegan got to.
Exactly.
Back in June. So.
How to treat it.
All right.
Let's say you've got it, you've had the symptoms, you go, shit, I think I could have urea cycle disorder. You go to your doctor, you get your bloods done, they test your ammonia, your serum ammonia level's quite high. Yep, you've got urea cycle disorder.
There's more of there's a way of managing it, and obviously being on a low protein diet for one, and taking medication that's going to help, balance the ammonia in your blood levels. And along with that, the treatment is also you can actually have amino acid supplements. So believe it or not, supplements to help with obviously that protein powder, but getting the right amount of those amino acids so that your body needs, so you don't have any amino acid wastage. Pretty much. So one thing that they do with children very early, usually around sort of between 9 and 12 months, if they're diagnosed early, is they'll go for a liver transplant to pretty much cure it straight away. The one side effect of that being liver transplant, very, very invasive, and also that poor child's going to need medication pretty much for the rest of their life for that liver transplant.
I think the important thing to note here is there is actually no cure.
No.
Apart from a liver transplant would be technically considered a cure, but if you've got it, there is no cure to it. It's a management type thing.
Absolutely.
Through low protein diet, there are drugs as well that can actually help with the removal of nitrogen in the bloodstream or ammonia in the bloodstream, leftover amino acids that can assist, but there is actually no cure for urea cycle disorder. All right, flip the switch. Protein powder. What is it?
All right, so it's a form of protein. It can be, dairy. Most people who are watching this, they know most of the protein powders on the market would be a whey protein. But you're going to get protein from beef, eggs, plant protein. You and I would both consider protein powders to be food.
Of course.
Because at the end of the day, if you look at your whey protein, it's broken down from milk. It's a byproduct of milk.
Absolutely.
So it's the same as, this is I guess a really bad analogy, but it's the same as having a carton of milk in your fridge.
It's effectively what protein powder is concentrated food. It's not. This is where in the industry we don't even consider protein powder a supplement as such.
Definitely
we consider it a powdered food source. That's effectively what it is. If you're dealing with whey protein, you're dealing with the protein one type of protein that naturally occurs in milk. The other one is casein protein. If you're taking a beef protein isolate or a collagen protein, it comes from beef skin. If you're taking a plant-based protein, it comes from peas or rice or if you're taking an egg protein, it comes from egg albumin, egg whites. It's literally a concentrated, powdered form of food. That's what protein is. So if you have urea cycle disorder and you know that by increasing your protein intake, your body can't deal with excess amino acids and it's going to boost your nitrogen level in your bloodstream, your ammonia level to a toxic level, obviously consuming excess protein, whether it be from an animal source, a whole food, plant-based source, wherever it is, or a protein powder, is obviously going to aggravate that condition.
Yeah, and it'll aggravate it all exactly the same as well.
100%.
It's not just the protein powder that's doing that.
No, and you can't go, and this is where the media really messed this up, is you can't go urea cycle disorder plus protein powder supplement equals death.
Yep.
It doesn't work like that. No. It's urea cycle disorder plus any elevation in protein intake, no matter where it comes from, whether it's protein powder, whether it's a whole food source of protein, is going to put you at risk of elevated blood serum ammonia levels.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's, that's one thing that they really stuffed up with this. The benefits of protein powder, because one thing that in all the stories have said is that there's no benefit to protein powder.
Man, I tell you, I love that bit. No benefits to protein powder at all.
It's such a ridiculous thing to say, because that's literally like saying, what are the benefits of eating protein?
Yeah. What's the benefit of eating chicken or steak or eggs or whatever it might be? Newsflash, your body actually needs that to regenerate its skin, its nails.
That's what essential amino acids are.
So if saying protein powder there's no use for it is like saying, well, cut out the dairy industry, the meat industry, the poultry industry, because there's no need for it anymore. We no longer need protein.
Ridiculous. And even over and above that, the whole reason why there's a market for protein powder in the form of concentrated whole food sources of protein in powdered form is because they're convenient.
Absolutely.
Firstly, you can get 20 grams of chicken, 20 grams of protein from a chicken breast, and you got to buy it, cook it, wait for it to cool down, eat it. It's going to take you a long time, or you can take a scoop of protein powder, drink it, and it takes you 15 seconds.
Absolutely.
It's convenient. The second thing is it's better value for money than most whole food sources of protein. If you take how much it costs you per gram of protein from a meat source, a plant source, any whole food source, and compare it to a common protein powder, chances are it's going to be better value for money to get your protein from the protein powder. And then finally, it tastes good.
Absolutely. Amazing.
Everyone wants to get their protein from meat or plant-based protein. They want to have something that tastes good, is convenient, and is good value for money.
Absolutely. But even if we look outside, I guess, the bodybuilding or sporting, industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Even people in medical practitioners would use protein powder with people who can't consume whole food sources of protein.
100%.
Like elderly people who are having stomach issues or whatever it might be, they would be consuming some sort of protein powder to get the calories in so that they don't, frail away and pass
and speaking of calories, another benefit of powdered protein sources, protein powder supplements, is that you can get certain macronutrient ratios. So you can get 25 grams of protein with 1 gram of carb, 1 gram of fat. If you're getting that same 25 grams from a piece of steak, you're going to get 10 to 15 grams of fat, depending on what cut of steak it is. If you're getting it from a plant-based source, you're going to get 25 grams of carbohydrates with it as well. So it allows you to manipulate your macronutrient intake to make it more ideal for whatever your particular goal is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So more protein, less calories.
Absolutely.
Numerous benefits of protein powder, which they just completely disregarded in that story. Final thing that I want to talk about protein as well, Big Swole, because one of the things that the mass media is reporting is that they're calling for better regulation of protein powder in Australia.
Now we know this because we obviously deal with government agencies to import protein from the US and sell protein. We deal with the therapeutic goods, the TGA, all the time. We know what the regulations are.
Incredibly regulated in this country, at least, in Australia at least. This is an import permit. This is from the Australian Government Department of Agriculture and Water Resources. You cannot import protein powder into Australia without one of these.
Nope.
It's an import permit, and it specifies, this import permit is for one flavor of one particular protein powder, and it's 6 pages long.
Yep.
There's 6 pages specifying exactly what you can and can't import, what the conditions are, what different standards and regulations it has to meet. And that you only get one of these if the government thinks that protein powder is fine to import into the country.
Absolutely.
That's step 1.
Yeah. And even to get that though, like it takes months.
100%.
It's just, you know, the hoops you have to jump through are ridiculous.
That's to get an import permit. Then when you actually want to import the product that's listed on this permit, you need to get one of these, which is another government document. This is from a protein powder that's imported from the US. And this comes from the United States Department of Agriculture, if you guys can get some zoom of focus on that there. This is a health certificate from the USDA that is stamped by the United States Department of Agriculture that specifies that everything that is listed on the import permit is satisfied for this particular flavor of this particular product. And it goes through things like, I'm just going to read them out to you guys. It goes through things like how the raw material was heat treated, what cows produced the raw material. So
and that's not like that's not like what area did they? It's like what cow.
No,
isn't
it's
it?
like what
specifically
cow.
Like what.
It's
cow.
like the animals were clinically healthy at the time the milk was obtained. The products were processed in a foot and mouth disease-free country and free zone. It's how the raw material was pasteurized, 72 degrees centigrade for a minimum of 15 seconds, or the equivalent in terms of phosphate destruction of 135 degrees centigrade or minimum of 1 second. It's like it is down to an absolute point. And without these 2 documents, a permit from the Australian government and a health certificate from the USDA, you cannot import a protein powder into Australia. So they're calling for further regulation of, like, how the fuck are you supposed to add another layer of regulation to that?
I don't actually think you can. Like it's going down to the specific cows and is there anything wrong with the cows? What field did the cows graze in?
It's ridiculous.
It's huge. Like, you know, the restrictions and the, I guess, regulation on protein powder in Australia are very, very stringent. And I guess, you know, these mainstream media once again did not do their research into what they're actually portraying in their stories.
But they do have a point, is that the one thing that's not regulated is the sale of protein powder. So it's regulated how you get it into the country ready for sale. But I mean, you don't have to show ID when you buy protein powder that says I do not have urea cycle disorder. You don't have to, you know, show any sort of identification. You know, you don't have to go to a pharmacy and get a prescription for protein powder. And you know why you don't have to do that, Joel? Because it's food.
Mate, imagine if we have to go get a prescription to go get a carton of milk from Coles across the road.
I'd like to see supermarkets bloody regulate the sale of nuts, considering how many people have nut allergies and go into anaphylactic shock if they even smell a peanut. I mean, that's why the sale of it's not regulated, because it's a food. And if you want to start regulating the sale of food to make sure you're not selling any particular food to somebody who's going to have an allergic reaction to that food, I don't even know where you go with that.
Hey,
It's completely ridiculous.
If we want to talk about regulation on food, maybe we should start talking about the regulation on food that's causing the obesity epidemic right now.
Absolutely, we can go
not
there.
The protein powder that.
How about before you go into a McDonald's drive-through, you have to step on a scale and get your body fat scanned and tested, and if you're above 15% body fat, no McDonald's for you, my friends. How about that one?
Government people wouldn't like that, because most of them would be over 15%.
The whole concept of regulating the sale of protein powder, of regulating the sale of a specific type of food is so ridiculous. And the fact that they're calling for regulation of that when you have much bigger problems such as obesity, such as food that's causing diabetes, such as food that's causing insulin resistance. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's just ridiculous.
But anyway, now that we're talking about, you know, protein
powder, now that I'm fired up.
let's have a chat about what Dr. Omar Khorshid said.
All right, you want me to read this shit out?
Read it out, man. Read it out.
All right. And the link is in the description box to this particular written story where this was pulled out of. Australian Medical Association Western Australia President Dr. Omar Khorshid said people should stick to eating a balanced diet rather than trying to trick your body into building muscle mass. And he said, I think the problem with the supplement industry is that it's really designed to make money for the companies which sell the products and not to provide any significant health benefit for the vast majority of people taking them.
That second paragraph, mate, before we get started on the first one, before, building muscle, if you took out supplement company and put pharmaceutical company, it's exactly the same thing. Like, this guy, I'm sure, he's a doctor. He would have written a prescription for something before, like antibiotics, amoxicillin, or whatever it might be, which is helping someone get better, but also bad for their digestive system at the same time. It's not good for their gut health. So although you are helping someone to get better, you're not helping their health at the same time.
I mean, the two people that they interviewed in this story, one of them was the president of the Australian Medical Association, who practically sleeps in the same bed as Big Pharma every single fucking night.
Yeah.
And the other one was a dietitian who practices veganism as their primary purpose of diet.
Yeah. So
I mean, like, man,
this is the issue. But before we get into the mainstream media, is they pick and choose who they're going to interview
to add to the sensationalism of the story.
Absolutely. And for someone to say you have to eat a balanced diet and rather than trick your body, how by having a scoop of protein are you tricking your body? We've already discussed before, protein powder is food. So once again, it mustn't be very hard to get to be president of the Australian Medical Association.
I can't believe that came out of that guy's mouth.
Yeah, this is where...
I mean, that is just ridiculous.
He's a doctor. How many years did he go to university for to study medicine and still doesn't know what's food and what's not?
To come up with shit like that.
Yeah.
When literally it's the biggest contradiction with what they do with pharmaceutical companies, but it's just plain wrong.
Yep.
It's just complete crap.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah.
What a brilliant story by Channel 10.
Well, it is. And and this is like, we'll get into it now, but this is the issue that we have. This is the main issue with this, is that a tragic story has occurred, and this happened back in June.
Yeah.
And what's happened, and this happens a lot with mainstream media, is they've leached onto the back of it to sell newspapers, to sell advertising, and try and make and sensationalize a story that really wasn't about the story at all. If they had done this story properly and brought about the awareness of urea cycle defect,
100%,
it would have been so much better for, I guess, the population as a whole.
100%.
But would it have sold newspapers? Would it have sold advertising space?
No, because
would it have made us
boring.
watch it? Would we be talking about it right now?
Of course not.
No.
Because no one wants to hear about a disorder that could kill you if you eat too much protein, no matter where that protein comes from.
Yeah.
So why don't we take this story about this poor girl who, tragedy has happened in this situation. Let's take that. Let's go, oh, well, she was actually preparing for a bodybuilding competition.
She was
taking supplements, which obviously increased her daily protein intake through the protein powders and amino acids and whatever else she was taking. And let's therefore come up with the headline that if you take protein powder, which is, let's be honest, most people these days are taking some sort of protein supplement.
Absolutely.
Anyone that cares about their health is taking some sort of protein supplement. Let's latch onto that and let's say if you're one of these people, which is most people who are conscious about health and fitness, it could actually kill you. That is just some of the most irresponsible journalism I've ever seen.
Well, the thing is, mate, it's becoming a regular occurrence.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time that they've had a stab at the I guess the supplement industry or supplements that are being sold. I reckon in the first 8 months of this year, there's been at least 4 or 5 stories that they've tried to.
We've done a GAINZ Trust on a few of them.
Yeah,
this is the worst by far.
This is definitely
because
the
somebody
worst,
actually died, and the media doesn't about that.
No.
They'd rather try and sell papers saying that if you take protein powder, it's going to kill you.
Absolutely.
How about this for an idea? Channel 10 and all the with mass media channels out there, instead of going for sensationalist journalism, why don't you actually say, look, this is what's happened and this is why this person tragically passed away at this young age. She was fit and healthy. She was caring about her health and well-being. She happened to have this genetic disorder. Let's use this story to raise awareness about this genetic disorder. What do the symptoms look like?
Absolutely.
If you've got it, how do you test for it? Once you've confirmed that you've got it, how do you deal with it? And let's prevent this happening to another young, fit and healthy person instead. Isn't that a better, responsible use of journalism?
But
than this sensationalist bullshit that we just had to listen to?
Are they going to make money off that, mate?
No, of course not.
That's the problem. Is it's all about money. And it's just a bunch of lazy journalism that they did as well. We picked that story apart in the 2 minutes that we watched it. There was just, after you do a little bit of research on the topic, half the shit they said was wrong.
Unbelievable.
So, it's just like, if you're going to do something, do it properly. It'd save us the time of coming in here and bashing you for it.
Exactly. I've had just about enough of this bullshit, man.
Oh, man, absolutely.
What do you guys think? Let us know your thoughts. Drop a comment down below on the YouTube channel. Let's get a little bit of a discussion happening. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? We're keen to hear your thoughts. Big Swole, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I reckon we've knocked it all off, man.
Before I tell the viewers to hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, man. Stay up to date with all the latest editions of the GAINZ Trust and everything else in our YouTube channel. Until next time, where we come to and from Swole.
MassiveJoes.com.
Stay